My name is Déanda Johnson. I'm interviewing Mrs. Jessie Payne on July 15, 2007 at New Hope Baptist Church in Bidwell, Ohio. Okay, we're going to start off with the easy question. What is your full name, and please spell it for me?
My full name is Jessie May Payne, Jessiemapayne.
What is your date and place of birth?
My date of birth is October the 21st, 1929.
And where were you born?
I was born in Gay County, Ohio.
Were you born at home or in a hospital?
I was born at home.
What do you consider your family racial or ethnic background to be?
My family racial ethnic background is probably Scottish and Negro and partly German.
What are the names of your parents?
The name of my parents are Henry Hutchinson Jr. and Nancy Corey Moore.
When were they born?
My father was born December the 21st, 1892, and my mother was born February the 8th, 1996. No, I meant 86.
1896?
Uh-huh.
Do you know where they were born, your parents?
My father was born in Jackson County, Ohio, and my mother was born in Ashland, Kentucky.
How about your grandparents? Who were your father's parents?
My father's parents was Henry Hutchinson Sr. and Amanda Chavis.
Do you know where they were born?
My grandfather, Henry Hutchinson Sr., was born in Virginia, and my grandmother, Amanda Chavis, was born in North Carolina.
And do you know approximately when they were born?
No, I don't.
Can you tell us a little bit of the story of Mr. Henry Hutchinson? How did he get to Ohio? Do you know that story?
He came to Ohio as a slave, and he got some money, and he bought a large tract of land in Jackson County.
Do you know what his connection to poke patch is, if any?
Yes, I do.
Could you talk a little bit about that?
Poke patch is predominantly black, but there was white settlers also there, and there was also, I think, some Indians there also settled there.
And do you know what role Henry played there? What his association with poke patch was, Mr. Hutchinson?
Henry Hutchinson Sr. didn't play much of that in Poke Patch, Ohio. He was mostly in Jackson County, Ohio. He worked for farmers and acquired money so he could buy this large tract of land, which he left a tract of land to all his children.
And how many children did he have?
21 or 22. Mm-hmm.
And your father was
My father was a young son. He was Henry Hutchinson Jr.
How about you? Who are your brothers and sisters?
My brothers and sisters? Mm-hmm. My brothers are Samuel Hutchinson, Malachi Hutchinson, Harry Hutchinson, and George Lincoln, who died at early age. My sisters are Nancy Curtis, Ruth Hunt, Neilma Hutchinson, and me, Jessie Payne.
And where do you fit in the birth lineup?
I'm the youngest of the family of 9.
How about what's your husband's name?
My husband's name is Adam Payne Jr.
And where was he born?
He was born in Ross County, Chillicothe, Ohio.
What is his date of birth?
His date of birth is November the 21st, 1926.
How did you meet your husband?
I met him at a restaurant. I was a waitress at the restaurant in Columbus, and he came in. He was a truck driver, and we had the first date, and we decided we'd get married later on. Hi.
So what year was it that you met?
In 1947.
And when did you guys get married?
We got married November 1st, 1948,
And where did you get married?
in Gay County.
At a church, at a home?
No, by the Justice of Peace.
Do you remember what his name was?
No.
Do you remember what you wore to your wedding?
I wore a black plaid suit, two-piece suit,
Where did you purchase it from?
Goodwill store.
What are the names of your children and their dates of birth?
My oldest child is Sharon Winston, and her date of birth, April the 14th, 1949.
Is that your only child?
No, I have another daughter.
Oh, okay.
My daughter's name is Carolyn Jane Casey, and she was born May the 5th, 1951.
Where did you attend school growing up?
I attended school at Cabinets, Ohio. That's the name of the school, Cabinets High School,
Okay.
and Gay County Elementary School.
What was it like going to school there? Was it integrated or segregated?
It was segregated, and there was about, I'd say, 4 or 5 blacks going. That was it.
Also, it was integrated, and there were white and
Yes,
blacks
uh-huh.
going to school together. How did you get to school?
We rode a school. I went to school on a school bus. We rode for about an hour and a half to get to school.
So where was your home in Gallia County, or Jackson? You lived in Gallia growing up?
Gay County.
Where was your home?
My home was on Center Point or Sims Creek Road, which is now Wayne National, part of Wayne National Forest.
And when did it become Wayne National Forest land?
Probably about 20 years ago. I think we sold it about 20 years ago.
And what made you guys decide to sell the land?
We sold the land because my sister and I owned the property, and the rest of my brothers and sisters wanted their share of the property. But I didn't want to sell, but the rest of them did, so I sold it so they could have their share of the money.
Were you living there at the property?
No, I was not living there. I was living in Rio Grande, Ohio.
Okay. And when did you move to Rio Grande?
Well, we lived in Columbus for about 5 years, and then we came back home to kind of look after my parents, and I think in 1952, maybe we moved to Rio Grande, Ohio.
And did you continue to work after you got married? Or
Yes,
what
I
you
did.
do? How were you employed after you got married?
I worked part-time. I worked full-time at Holmes Hospital, and then I went to the college and worked, and then my parents got sick, so I had to quit and help take care of them.
Now, what kind of work did you do at the hospital and this school?
I worked in the maternity ward, and at the college, I worked in housekeeping.
How did you learn about your family's history?
My daughter and I, we went from courthouse to courthouse, and that's how we found out about the Henry Hutchinson seniors. That's how we found out about our ancestors. And then we went to Virginia, and we looked up his birth down in Virginia.
Do you know whereabouts in Virginia he was from?
No, I have it at home, but I don't remember where it was.
Now, was the stories passed down in your family? Did different people talk about the family's history when you were growing up?
No.
Why do you think that is, that nobody talked about the family's history?
I don't know. You just didn't ask questions back then.
What is the most exciting thing that you learned about your family's history?
The most exciting thing I learned about my family history is how he took care of all the children. He worked hard and he saved, and they all had to work. And he raised a family on with gardens, food, and he just worked hard. He had animals on the farm also.
Can you tell us a little bit about Corinth Church?
Corinth Church, my grandfather donated, Henry Hutchinson Sr. donated the land for the church, and my father was a deacon for, I'd say, about 50 years. He was one of the deacons, and I've always went to Corinth Church. When we was little, we had to walk, and we had to walk barefooted because we had to save our shoes for Sunday, because everybody was poor then. And when I grew up, I taught Sunday school. I was Sunday school superintendent. I was also Sunday school teacher, secretary for the Sunday school, and now I am I'm a deaconess, and I'm over the kitchen.
Now, what religion or what denomination are you talking about that you belong to?
My church is Corinth Missionary Baptist Church.
Now, do you know when it was built, what year that Henry Hutchinson?
Well, there was an old log church, but the church that's now standing was built in 1896.
What activities were associated with attending church when you were growing up?
When we was growing, activities.
Like the union association meetings, those type of things.
What?
The union meetings?
Oh, we had union meeting, baptizing, and our anniversary, pastor's anniversary, our church anniversary, and union meetings, and we always had a weenie roast and basket dinners.
And can you describe a little what basket dinners are?
Basket dinners generally is where everybody used to bring their food in a basket, and then the union meetings was kind of called the basket dinners. And we all put our food together in a long table. We had to eat outside because we didn't have the facilities inside.
How were church records kept? Are there church records for Corinth Church? Who keeps the records for Corinth Church?
Our clerk, Sister Ounder Kills. Our records are kept by Sister Ounder Kills, our church clerk. And before she had them, we had Sister Ina Hutchison. She was a church clerk.
And how far back do your church records go? Do you guys have records for?
I'd say about 50 years.
Growing up, what types of food did you eat?
We always had chicken on Sunday. Okay. We had beans, potatoes, cabbage, all garden vegetables. And my father always killed a hog and a calf. That we ate rabbit. We ate a lot of wild meat. Rabbits, coon, possum, groundhogs, squirrels.
And how about outdoor? Was it outdoor or indoor plumbing?
No, it was outdoors. It was an outdoor.
How about electricity?
We didn't get electricity until probably 19 maybe.
Growing up, actually, we're filming, so. That's okay. Growing up, did your family make or purchase clothing?
My mother sewed all of our clothing. And my sister, when she got old enough, she sewed our dresses and wheats. She always made us little underpanties with ruffles on them. And she always made us bonnets.
Now, how did she learn how to make these things?
Pardon?
How did she learn how to make these things?
She just picked it up. I mean, there wasn't no regular method. Someone gave us a sewing machine, and my mother mastered the sewing machine herself. Nobody taught her, she taught herself. And my sister copied off my mother.
Growing up, did you, what types of things were there to do for leisure activities? Was it movies, skating? What types of activities did you do for fun growing up?
There was no movies. We played horseshoe, marbles, sleigh ride, and what else did we do? We made a wheelbarrow, and we hauled each other around in a wheelbarrow, and a homemade wagon. So.
Growing up, did your family ever talk about slavery? Did you ever hear about slavery growing up?
Yes, I did.
What did you hear about it?
I heard that slavery was bad because the people was not allowed to do the things that the Caucasian and the other race of people were allowed to do. We always had to take the back seat, and the whites would call us names at school, and we just couldn't use the restrooms. We couldn't purchase food we could purchase food from the restaurant, but we had to use the back door. And most of the time, my father wouldn't buy it.
Hi. Fine, how are you?
Hi.
Come right on through.
Well, I gotta put some stuff. Where are we gonna sit? I'm gonna put my Bible somewhere.
Okay, just put it on one skin.
I think we can just sit mostly anywhere. Well, yeah. But I'll wait. You gonna get in the corner? I like the corner.
Hi.
How are you?
Just fine.
Hi, ladies.
Hello, how are you, Miss Jessie?
I'm fine.
Good, good. Hi.
Hi, Leon.
Fine, how are you?
Hello, lady. How you doing?
It's fine, how are you? Travel?
Trouble?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi.
I'm doing fine.
Okay.
How are you? I'm back. How are you?
Do you remember any other ways in which people of African descent were treated, like Negro people were treated? Do you remember any other ways that they were treated differently when you were growing up?
When I was growing up? When I was growing up, we had a Klan. Ku Klux Klan would ride through the territory, and they would beat some of the people in our community, but they never did bother my dad because he was a good friend to a white man that lived in the house next to us up on a hill, and he told him never to bother us, and that was why we never had no problems with the Klans.
Do you remember the man's name that lived up?
L.D. Davis.
So, how long was the Ku Klux Klan active when you were growing up?
I say the Klan was active for 10 years.
During what years? Do you remember?
Probably, I was 5. 5. Huh. You're going to have to figure that now.
Oh, okay, but you were 5 when you remember this happening?
Yeah, age 5. And it went on until I was about 11 or 12.
So, do you know other people who were black who were hurt by the Klan when you were growing up?
The people that were hurt by the Klan they moved out of the territory. There was one family they really didn't like at all, and they burnt. As a matter of fact, they burnt the house down. But they moved, so after they moved, they kind of settled down. And the sheriff started making rounds, and then they kind of got them settled down. They did.
So this was in Gallia County?
In Gallia County.
Do you remember the name of the family that moved away because of the Klan?
I think it was Sam Hertz, not Sam Hertz. No, I don't remember now. Donald Miller was one of them.
Oh, one of the people that moved away?
And I can't remember Sam's last name.
Now,
That
why do
family.
you think that the Klan picked on these families in particular?
They picked on those two families.
Why do you think that was?
Well, they was real poor. They lived in a cave, and they didn't have any education at all. And I don't know, I just think they picked on them a lot. They really didn't need a reason. They just did it at random a lot.
What do you know about the Underground Railroad?
I don't know much about the Underground Railroad.
Do you know about your husband's family, the Paynes, how they're associated with this region?
No, I don't.
Growing up, what kinds of illnesses did family members experience?
They had, a lot of them had pneumonia, and they had stomach problems, and they had, a lot of them was mentally.
Oh, mental problems?
Mm-hmm.
What type of mental problems?
Well, they called them crazy, so I guess, what would you call us? I don't know. They call them crazy people. And pneumonia, stomach problems, and a lot of them died with diarrhea. Typhoid fever, a lot of them had scarlet fever, tonsillitis, because they didn't have a doctor. A lot of them had died.
How were illnesses treated when you were growing up? Like if you had a cold or a flu or anything?
They were treated with herbs and things. For a cold, they used to mix lard and sulfur together, make a poultice and put it on our chest. And we drank a tea, they call it bone set tea. We boiled it, got the leaves and boiled it, and we had to drink it. They mixed whiskey and rock candy together. Of course, they all made moonshine and beer, homemade brew. So that's the way we took care of our illnesses.
What kinds of health care was available in communities? When did people see the doctor?
The doctor used to travel around. You could use the phone to call him, and you had to wait your turn for him to come. Now, my father got his arm cut off, and we had an old age home where he had to go and stay. And old Doc Holzer took care of him.
Now, how did he get his arm cut off?
Well, he was riding the back of a truck, and there was another truck coming on 35, and he had a mowing machine, and the mowing machine cut his arm off, sticking out from the other truck, and cut his arm off.
What old age home did he go to? Do you remember?
Galplius.
I can make it out and go on the bathroom.
Okay.
Without, I'll be able to make it. Fine, how are you? Where's she going? I'm passing. Passing. And I was looking for Mommy, I had her water, I said, where'd she go?
Actually, you're in the shot. If I can have you sit somewhere else just until we finish, we'll be finished. Sorry. He's shooting her on the camera. Is there anything that you would like to add to the interview that I haven't asked you so far? Anything about your family's history that you think is important? or anything about your life history that you think is important that you'd like to talk about?
No, I
Okay.
think you've asked me everything.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.